Good afternoon and welcome to Wilmington Biz Talk, presented by the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. I'm Cece Nunn, and today we're talking with Shane Fernando of Cape Fear Community College about the restart of performances at the Wilson Center in Wilmington. But before we get going on our conversation, we'll hear a message from our sponsor, Cape Fear Realtors.
Hello, I'm Ann Gardner, CEO of Cape Fear Realtors. Realtors support this program's efforts to connect our community in meaningful dialogue with actionable insights. Realtors are dedicated professionals who build strong, resilient communities and businesses. Work with someone you can trust. Work with a realtor. Learn more at capefear.realtor.
Welcome back to Wilmington Biz Talk. Today's topic is related to the arts. The Wilson Center is a 1,550-seat performing arts venue in downtown Wilmington that had to go on hiatus last year when the coronavirus pandemic hit the U.S. But these days, things have changed in the arts world with capacity limits lifted and more people getting vaccinated. To speak to that, we have Shane Fernando, Vice President of Advancement in the Arts at Cape Fear Community College. Thanks for being with us, Shane.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So, when did the Wilson Center reopen for live performances?
Well, we formally reopened with our first live audience on April 23rd with Opera House Theater Company with their performance of Live at the Cotton Club. And that was with a reduced audience of 393. But we did continue our programming over the course of the year since the pandemic began. And so it is, we started our live streaming days after we were shut down. So we did our live streaming to support our local artists, and all of that revenue went to support the musicians here regionally who lost gigs and had a gap between unemployment and getting having any type of work. And so we did that for 47 continuous days, that series every day. We had a different artist, and then shifted to drive-ins through last summer and into the fall, and then moved into from drive-in concerts to drive-in movies in collaboration with Thalian Hall. And then we switched to streaming services for regional organizations. So we have our resident companies at the Wilson Center, and they were ready to start connecting with their audiences. And so we provided that streaming service with our 3-camera studio set up in the venue. And we continued that through April. And now we've shifted gears into back into the live performance realm. And so now we're we've been supporting regional and community organizations to reconnect with their audiences. And now with the latest lifting of restrictions, there is more confidence now with the national tours, and we're seeing that with other states too, to begin rebuilding and getting those large Broadway tours and other tours back into place. So we're looking at, hopefully this fall.
Okay. How many people attended that first performance with Opera House Theater Company, that first in person?
We had over 900 people attend over the 3 days that it played. So we had 3 full houses for the house that we were allowed to have at that time. So that was very hopeful, because we didn't know how the public would respond to coming back. Actually, the first indoor performance of that scale in our region since the pandemic, and we saw that the demand was there.
And so that sort of answers my next question. But what was the audience reaction to that? Being able to get back into the theater.
I'll give you a more qualitative response there. The audience was. People were in tears. I mean, it was so moving. I mean, tears of joy. There's just so much joy and happiness in that space. And I think we're going to see more and more of those moments as, as we, as our programming becomes more like it was with the opening of the new amphitheater, when Thalian Hall gets it, starts doing their full capacity. People are excited and hungry for that. It's the live performance experience is obviously what happens on stage, but it's be able to experience that as a community with a room of people. There's no other energy like that, and that's we have technology has been helpful over the past year in terms of helping organizations like the Wilson Center and other organizations to be able to continue our mission to connect with our community and bring our community together in a virtual digital world. But again, there is still no substitute for that live experience.
Right. And tell us about how many performances you had to reschedule from last year.
Well, I guess close to 100 when we count our rentals and our and our interior season for the Wilson Center. So it's been a Rubik's Cube to reschedule, and we have been very committed with our artists and with our current ticket buyers that we will reschedule rather than cancel unless something fell apart with the tour. And there were many tours, there were many Broadway shows across the country which completely collapsed, they're gone. And that did affect us somehow with somewhat with a handful of our programs here at the Wilson Center, but we've been able to keep close to 95% of our programs intact in terms of, that commitment to our community that we're going to bring in this performance and these artists here, and letting those ticket buyers know that we're committed and we'll be bringing those artists in, and then that commitment to these artists who have been hit so hard through this pandemic, and so knowing that revenue and that is still there for them down the road, and so we've helped. That was very important too, is holding that commitment to our artist partners. So we've been able to, and so over the next few months, you're going to be hearing more and more about these rescheduled events locking in, and hopefully this is the last time we'll be locking them in. Some have been kicked down the road, with that's how it's been with venues across the country with these reschedules, is having not 2 or 3 but 6 to 10 rescheduled dates that would kind of safety net under a safety net under a safety net under a safety net that that would happen so we can maintain the show within our calendars. So I think we're getting near the end of that.
That's nice. Yeah, that sounds, I don't know how, that sounds very complicated.
Yes.
So, well, tell us about, some of those performances that you have coming up and down the line that you think people are going to be excited about.
Sure. Well, there are 2 big ones that I keep getting questions about, and that's Beautiful and Cats, part of our Broadway series in the 2020, which were some of the most popular in our Broadway series that year. Those are being rescheduled to their final date, so they're going to happen, and those tours are healthy and viable and financially solvent. Their investors have stood by them and kept those companies alive. So they're ready to come back rearing and strong. And then we have our Broadway season, so we'll be having additional shows for the 21-22 season. We're on the cusp of announcing those. Very excited about that. We'll have a strong Broadway season ahead, and I'm hoping by the end of June we'll be ready to announce that. It's kind of been a tap dance because we are in the process of rebuilding our Ticket Central staff. So we've been very judicious in our announcements. We've announced a few things, but we need people to answer the phones, and we need to rebuild our infrastructure, our operations on this side so we can process high volumes of sales like we did. And so we're we're incrementally bringing our building our staffing back. So I'm hoping that we'll have a big Broadway announce in June, which is definitely bread and butter for the Wilson Center in terms of one of our very premier programming that we do. And then we've had recent announces. Melissa Etheridge is coming in November. The Price is Right is coming in September. Boz Scaggs is coming. We got his date rescheduled. Trace Atkins rescheduled. Mannheim Steamrollers coming. $1 Million Quartets rescheduled. So and there are many others which are. We have about 60 to 70 announces waiting in the wings. So those will be tumbling out over the next few months. So yeah, watch out.
A lot of good stuff. Mm-hmm. So what was your reaction to Governor Cooper's most recent lifting of capacity limits?
Well, I think it speaks to the success so far with vaccinations in our state and the capacity of our hospitals and so forth in terms of being able to handle new infections and how things are decreasing. And so I think it is good news for our state to be able to see things reopen again and reopen safely. And so we're ready to go and our venues are ready to go. It's but it also takes time. It's a little different than just can't turn the lights on and like, okay, we're gonna bring in Diana Ross tomorrow. And so it's a not only are we, it puts our state in a better place because especially within this industry, we're not localized. And so I need the entire East Coast, if not to the West Coast, but right now I just want the East Coast alive so we can start getting our New York to Florida tours going again. But all the states have to be, in a good spot, and there has to be that confidence from the tours to make that business decision to go ahead and invest in building the tours, hiring all of the technicians and the creative staff and casting, and get all their investors lined up for a particular tour, which we're looking at now, kicking off Broadway in the fall, just across the nation. But there is that confidence from their investors to move forward in the fall, and that North Carolina is a piece of that with the other states. So and North Carolina is a very important state with East Coast touring. If you want to get from New England to Florida, you got to stop in North Carolina. And so our state is a linchpin in the East Coast tours. And so we are strategically in a great place, and we get a lot of great programming here because of that, where we fall strategically within the touring line. But then, moving out west, those conversations are beginning to come forward. But right now I'm focused on getting the East Coast. I think that's where everyone is in this area. Let's get our East Coast tours alive again.
Got it. Okay. And like you said, that's a good point. You can't just flip on, get those going again that fast.
Yeah, because then we gotta, put them on. Then you need to, we have to market them and sell them, and these, and then the tours, they've got to get cast and rehearsed, and they have to check the shows. It takes about 4 to 6 months to build a tour that already exists. So in terms of rebuilding one that's been mothballed, it takes years to start one from scratch. So so they're shaking the mothballs out now. So.
Well, so how do you think the lifting the limits will affect your audience numbers?
Well, I think so far we've seen we weren't sure when we our announcement in April with our reduced capacity if we would have 10 people or full capacity, and we were blessed to see us at full capacity for those shows. We have been I'm involved with the leadership with our state consortium for presenting across North Carolina, and we recently conducted a poll with all of our member venues across the state for to assess ticket buyers. So this is focused particularly on ticket buyers, their confidence in coming back. And the number one by far was their own vaccination status. And once they had reached that, they would be confident to come to the theater. That was by far number one. And then later in the survey, we asked, for them to, if they felt, to disclose their vaccination status. And this was a month ago, so it's even better now. But at that point, 66% of ticket buyers across the state had been fully vaccinated. And so, and generally ticket buyers nationally, and it's here locally here in Wilmington, is 3/4 of ticket buyers are 55 and up and female. And that's that's generally the largest part of the population that we've seen vaccinated. So it did align with that, and so I'm sure our vaccination numbers for regular ticket buyers is even higher now. So that does speak well to that consumer confidence coming back for live performances. We know that our base is vaccinated, and that's what they want to be able to come back.
So before the pandemic, did you have shows? I guess it would depend on the show and its popularity in general, but did you have shows that were selling out?
I beg your pardon? I lost you a second.
Did you have shows that would be sold out, certain Broadway shows or certain acts before the pandemic?
Oh, all the time. Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. I mean, that was a norm. I mean, we would have, Diana Ross, Price is Right, Ron White, all of these performers that come through, they'd be sold out in minutes. It's definitely a Broadway too. I mean, it's people want, we have people who want they've fallen in love with certain areas of the theater, certain seats, and it's interesting because all the tastes are different in terms of what people think is, the best seat or their favorite seat. But so people will jump right in, and I mean that's also been the success of our membership program too with the Wilson Center, which allows our members to purchase their tickets before the charts open to the general public, so they can get their favorite seats. So yeah, and that's what's also helped keep Wilson Center afloat over this year. Our members continuing their membership, continuing their support, and so their support has been vital. They've helped us keep going. Without them, I don't know if we would be looking at reopening this soon.
How many members do you have?
We have over 150 members, and so those folks contribute between 1,000 and 50,000 a year in terms of their support of, and that gives them access to ticket buying, other things. But yes, there are sustainers.
Okay. And so what are your hopes for the future for the Wilson Center and the arts as, hopefully things continue to improve?
Well, I look forward to, allowing our organizations. It's, the performing arts industry, we're the first to close and will be the last to probably fully reopen, across the world. And so it's definitely been a very big, gut punch to these folks. And so there's been a lot of, it's been interesting in New York, where, so much of our Broadway is built. So many of the creatives who've been part of that industry there for decades are gone. They've left the city, they're in new careers. So it's an interesting time because they're rebuilding that human capital uh, um, structure there so they can start doing business again. But it's a great time for someone who's always wanted to be in that industry to get in, because it was a very, very, very difficult industry to get into. And so there's a lot of opportunity now for folks to get their foot in the door. And so that is exciting. So I am interested to see what type of new art is going to come forward with new creative talent, which will be entering the industry. It's a very exciting time. I do see it as a kind of renaissance um, with the type of music, with the type of theater that we're going to see hitting our stages in the next couple years. And because it's all coming from a very new point of view that we haven't probably seen in a couple decades. So I am excited about that. I am also just excited to reconnect, do what we do in terms of bringing our community together for great performances. I know I speak for every theater in the country when I say that. That's why we exist, and that's the joy that we get from doing our work, is obviously seeing great art on the stage. But my favorite thing is at a show when I'm working, I watch the audience. I don't even watch what's on the stage, because I love watching the audience watch a show and seeing the joy, seeing the connections people have with each other. Um, it really is a wonderful thing, and I know that people are hungry for it, and we're ready to bring it back.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Shane, for being with us on Wilmington Biz Talk. That's all the questions we have for today. But remember, you can find this and past episodes of Wilmington Biz Talk on Facebook and on podcast platforms. Thanks for being with us, and have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you, too. Thank you for having me.